Hello, this is Miss Heron. Today we will be reading Grounded, author unlisted. This story introduces our unit on generations. It is an example of nonfiction narrative text, which is a type of writing in which an author explores an experience using descriptive details and events. As you read, look at the way the writer of the selection tells about a real experience she had with her grandmother, and how she creates a picture of that experience. Be prepared to answer the question, how did the author feel, and how does she show that to the reader? Ready? Grounded. Growing up, I really didn't know my grandmother. She was a private person and didn't talk about her past much, but I know she had one. She once told me that before she got married, she was a backup singer in a band that I had actually heard of. But that's all she would say about it, no matter how often I prodded. El pasado es el pasado, she told me. The past is the past. To me, she talked in Spanish. I talked back in English. We understood each other. The thing I remember most about Grandma Sophia was how much she loved driving, especially since she came to live with us. She had a 1960s red Chevy Impala convertible that was all her own, a remnant of her band days. She loved driving with the top down, the radio blasting, singing at the top of her lungs when a good song came on. Driving was her independence, her freedom. My parents, however, were concerned that she was getting too old to drive around by herself. One night I overheard them. She's okay for now, but how long before she can't manage? I'll speak to her tomorrow. I felt sick at the thought of Grandma giving up her car. I knew what driving meant to her. I knew that without her wheels, she'd feel ordinary. Just another grandma, hovering and wise. Sometimes it felt like Grandma and I were on the sidelines, and my parents were in the middle, dragging us toward the center, where we did not want to be. I was often grounded for the smallest things. I didn't really mind under normal circumstances. One time, the time that I'm writing about, circumstances were not normal. My parents had grounded me for the weekend of Luisa's party, easily the social event of the season. No way was I going to miss it. But my parents weren't even going to be home. They were going to my Aunt Leticia's. It would just be me and Grandma. Me and Grandma and a 1966 red Chevy Impala convertible. Saturday night arrived and I was itching to go to the party, so I did the unthinkable. I asked Grandma to drive me to Luisa's. I figured she didn't know about me being grounded. She looked at me quizzically and said she would. I got dressed and ran out to the car. She was waiting for me. I got in. The sky was just beginning to darken, blue clouds against a darker blue sky. Soon it would be nighttime. Grandma looked a little uncomfortable. At first I thought it was because she knew about me being grounded. But then I wondered if maybe she didn't want to drive at night and didn't want to tell me. At that moment, I wouldn't have minded getting out and going back home. I felt bad about Grandma. I felt bad about disobeying my parents. But how could I say any of this? We took off. She drove slowly, maybe too slowly, but we didn't get very far. Suddenly, she pulled over and stopped the car. We must have been sitting in that car for 5 minutes, which is a long time if you're sitting in a car not talking. I couldn't ask her if she'd stopped because she was nervous about driving, and I couldn't ask if she'd stopped because she knew I was grounded. Finally, she turned to me. Regresamos? Shall we turn back? Sure, I replied. I was so relieved I could have cried. Bueno, she said with a nod. She started the car and turned on the radio. It was a song we both knew by heart, but it was clear that Grandma and I could still learn a lot from each other. I hope you enjoyed Grounded. Please check out Miss Cruz's cold reading of the story and thoughts and Mrs. Hatton's warm reading of the story and thoughts if you need help answering the question. We will work with these thoughts more in our next meeting. See you soon.